I spent the next few weeks going through some leads about Martin Hill. To my minor dislike, my bossy guardian kept insisting on working together. Not exactly what I had in mind, but I got tired of arguing with him. A few hours ago, Delta left, saying that he had to go prepare for our upcoming appointment with Hill. I hadn't the slightest idea on what he was doing, but I figured that it didn't matter much to me. It was the night of the Salute to Vienna concert, and I was more than eager to take on Martin Hill. I arrived back at my apartment at 4:15. As soon as the door was shut, I proceeded to strip off my comfortable clothes to prepare for my shower. I discarded the various pieces of clothing on the ground and walked straight to the bathroom. I started the shower and adjusted the water's temperature. Once I deemed it okay, I stepped inside and automatically moaned in appreciation as the warm water dripped down my skin and soothing my aching muscles. I took my time in the shower as I spread the soap over my body and cleaned off any filth that I may have had. I wanted to stay in the shower forever, but the duties pulled me away from my brief paradise. Grumpily, I turned off the water and wrapped a lavender towel around me before I stepped out. Liquid droplets fell onto the tiled floor and created a dripping sound effect. Slightly comforted by the sound, I took a deep breath before I went out to my room. The cooler air caused goosebumps to form all over my skin. I ignored them as I fetched out my evening attire. I carefully put on the delicate dress and observed myself in the mirror. My dress was black and skin-tight, and ended at my feet. It fit perfectly. The fabric was pulled delicately over my chest, waist, and hips. The neckline was low and formed a sloping curve to expose an acceptable amount of cleavage. There was another low cut in the back, which showed off my slim back. I added a simple black shawl to complement the dress, as well as to shelter me from the cool spring breeze. Impressed with what I had so far, I went back to the bathroom to arrange my makeup. I opted to use a bit of mascara and a smoky eyeshadow to allow my dark eyes to pop out. I also applied a clear lip gloss to naturally plump my lips. For my hairstyle, I booked an appointment with a hairstylist earlier that day to put in soft, elegant curls. I slightly felt like I over-exaggerated my appearance. The whole thing was probably the most dramatic makeover I've ever done since my high school prom. I shrugged half-heartedly as I walked towards my door. I braced one-handed against the wall as I slowly put on a pair of black heels. Lying on the desk nearby was the mask I had picked out for my outfit. It was simple and black, yet it was also covered in some diamond dust that sparkled in the light. I put it on and adjusted it over my nose. I looked back at my reflection and gasped audibly. I hardly recognized the woman in the mirror. A dark-haired beauty, shrouded in mystery, looked back at me. I smiled, and I felt my breath abandon me as the woman in the mirror smiled back. Her perfectly white teeth shimmered like pearls. I looked away and double-checked that my shawl was wrapped securely around my slim shoulders before I went out the door. Once outside, I was pleased to discover that the shawl protected me from the cool breeze as I stood outside my apartment building, waiting for the taxi I had booked hours prior. Minutes later, the typical sight of a yellow cab pulled up in front of me. I stepped inside and instructed the driver of my destination. I leaned into my seat and allowed myself to relax a little bit. The musical event was taking place at the New York Grand Theater. I've never been there before, but I could imagine just how spectacular it would be. I arrived at my destination half an hour late. I paid the driver and stepped out into the brightly lit entrance. I was in awe as I stared at all of the art that was portrayed. Obviously, the owner of the building spared no expense in decorating the place. All around me were people in elegant clothing. Each of them wore a unique mask to hide their identities. For a moment, I felt like I was a fair maiden attending her first ball. Now all I need is a Prince Charming, I thought in amusement. A butler in traditional uniform approached me with champagne. I took one, just for the hell of it. I needed to fit in after all. As I carried my glass, I continued to walk around and silently admired the decorations. Clearly distracted, I bumped into someone, which caused me to drop my barely touched champagne. I nearly fell over as well, if it wasn't for the person holding onto my waist to keep me balanced. Flustered, I immediately regained my posture and apologized. I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking. The person chuckled. I looked up, and couldn't help but allow my jaw to drop slightly. Handsome couldn't even be used to describe him properly. He was drop-dead gorgeous. I snapped my mouth shut and reprimanded myself internally. I was about to politely walk away when the man placed a firm hold on my arm.
It's no problem, miss.
He trailed off in a rich voice. More, I answered breathlessly. His smile made my heart accelerate.
Would you like to dance?